For the second half of chapter 9, we go back to the present just for a moment. Sethe is walking to the clearing, and she wants to be near where Baby Suggs used to preach, and Denver and Beloved are going with her. And so when Sethe gets there to the preaching rock, she remembers how it used to smell with the leaves drying in the sun and all the people coming to hear what Baby Suggs had to say. And then she remembers again that time, that first month that she was in Baby Suggs's home after escaping slavery. She'd had 28 days, the travel of one whole moon of unslaved life. And during that time, she was part of a wonderful community. She knew the names of 40 or 50 other negroes, their habits, where they had been, what they had done. One of them taught her the alphabet. Another taught her how to sew. They taught her how to wake up in the morning and decide what to do with your day. It's like she actually was able to be free, to experience what is it like to wake up and make decisions for yourself. She felt that she had claimed herself. She had freed herself in one way, that's physically, but now she's taking ownership of her day-to-day life, and that's a whole nother level of freedom. Now, present again, she sits on Baby Suggs's rock. Denver and Beloved are watching her from the trees. And there will never be another day, she thinks, when Hallie will knock on the door, not knowing it was hard, knowing it was harder. So she's really struggling because now she knows Hallie is never going to make it to her. And she just wants to feel Baby Suggs's fingers on the back of her neck. And she just imagines if she could pray to Baby Suggs that maybe her spirit would come down and comfort her. And she said, I could lay it all down. I could actually feel my deepest emotions if I just had Baby Suggs's fingers. And so as she imagines that, she literally begins to feel it. Light as a feather, but unmistakably caressing fingers on her shoulders and neck. She relaxed a little bit to let them do their work. It was so light, almost childlike, and she's really feeling like she can relax. And it allows her to think about Paul D. She's trying to figure out what to do with this man who has made himself part of her life. She knows that it's good to have him there. He's working, he's interested in the community, he's giving her some company, she's having more of a normal life. She wants to count on him, but she's also afraid because, she's been disappointed in life so many times. The other issue is that Paul D brings sad memories. It's because he told her the story about Hallie that she's feeling so terrible. So she's conflicted about this. And this could be a quiz question. Like, why does she want him there? For security, for normalcy, for companionship. He's a good man. But also she doesn't want him there because he's connected to all of the sadness that she's trying to forget. All of a sudden, she notices that the fingers that are touching her back and neck are stronger now. Bolder, harder and harder. The fingers move slowly around towards her windpipe, making little circles on the way. Sethe was actually more surprised and frightened to find that she was being strangled. So whatever spirit is rubbing her neck is now suddenly trying to choke her. Sethe falls forward. She claws at the hands that were not there, but she's feeling something. Her feet were thrashing, and Denver and Beloved run to her. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is happening? Denver shouts, "Mammy!" and turns her mother over on her back. The fingers left off, and Sethe had to swallow huge just gulps of air before she could see her daughter's face next to her own and Beloved hovering above. And Sethe's like, somebody choked me. And she says it must have been Grandma Baby. That would be Baby Suggs, because that's who Sethe was sort of trying to speak to. I just asked her to rub my neck like she used to, and she was doing fine, and then it just got crazy, I guess. And Denver says, she wouldn't do that to you, Grandma Baby? So the first thing I thought is, did Beloved do it? Just seems like an obvious suspicion, right? So Sethe asked to be helped up, and Beloved says, look, and she points to Sethe's neck, and Seth is like, what is it? And Denver said, those are bruises. So there are literally bruises on her neck. Here, said Beloved, here and here too. And she reaches her hand and she touches the bruises. That don't help nothing, Denver said, just touching bruises. Beloved was leaning in, her two hands stroking the damp skin that felt like chamois and looked like taffeta. So her fingers are delicate, and this helps Sethe relax. And as she begins to relax, she realizes like she needs to be okay. She thinks about other women, other Black women who went crazy, who, were so tormented with trauma and fear that they couldn't live a normal life. And Sethe doesn't want to be like that, which is kind of what all this is reflecting on. Beloved's fingers were heavenly, which seems very opposite to what just happened, obviously, with the choking. And then all of a sudden, Beloved leans in and kisses underneath Sethe's chin. And they stayed that way a while because neither Denver nor Sethe knew how to stop and not love the look or feel of the lips that kept on kissing. So Beloved is inappropriate here. She starts kissing her in a very awkward way. And then Sethe, grabbing Beloved's hair and blinking rapidly, separated herself. And she's like, you're too old for that. Like, don't do that. Ew. She's just like crossing lines all the time, this Beloved person. Sethe clearly is bothered by all of this. I mean, how could she not, right? She's confused by the nice feeling that Beloved was massaging away, and then all of a sudden, she does this other weird kissing thing. But she also kind of has this sense that the fingers that were soothing her before they strangled her had reminded her of something that now slipped her mind. But one thing for sure, Baby Suggs had not choked her as first she thought. So I don't know. I don't know what is the thing that Sethe is remembering that then she can't remember. But this is important. She definitely knows it was not Baby Suggs who was choking her. Denver was right. And walking in the dappled tree light, clearer headed now, away from the enchantment of the clearing, Sethe remembered the touch of those fingers that she knew better than her own. They had bathed her in sections. This is Baby Suggs. There is no way Baby Suggs would ever choke her. So she's like, that was something else. That was not Baby Suggs. Sethe also realizes, for 18 years, she has lived in a house full of touches from the other side. And the thumbs that pressed her nape were the same. So she can recognize that choking was the same as the kind of behavior that the ghost would demonstrate in the house. After Paul D. beat it out of 124, maybe it collected itself in the clearing, is what Sethe thinks to herself. Maybe when Paul sent that ghost out, it sort of settled into the clearing, and that's where it is. Still, Sethe does not recognize that perhaps Beloved is the ghost. We do. We understand that, and Denver certainly does too, but not Sethe. The suspicion that the girl's touch was also exactly like the baby ghost dissipated. So, too bad. It was only a tiny disturbance anyway. Sethe reasons to herself like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Not strong enough to divert her from the ambition welling in her now, which is that she wanted Paul D. So she starts to have some clarity after this experience in the clearing. Interesting association of words, where she realizes she does want him to be in her life. He knows her. Her story is bearable because it was his as well. They have a shared history, and even though it's painful, maybe it's easier to bear it together. So she decides that she's going to go back and be happy in the life that she has there. And she watches Denver and Beloved walking, and it occurs to her that they're like sisters, because they are, if it is indeed Beloved is the ghost. And she reflects on their relationship. She thinks about how they spent up or held on to their feelings in harmonious ways, that they get along. What one had to give, the other was pleased to take. That's also true. Beloved and Denver hung back in the trees that ringed the clearing then, and then rushed into it with screams and kisses when Sethe choked, like they came to her together. She also believes that neither of them are competitive with the other. Well, that's not really true. We know Denver is very competitive, and we know Beloved is too, because they both want something different. Beloved wants only Sethe, Denver wants only Beloved. So there definitely is some tension in that relationship that we know, but Sethe doesn't know that. Sethe then is inspired to make a good supper for Paul D. She wants to just have like a loving, wonderful meal. She's going to launch her newer, stronger life with this tender man by making a special dinner. So that's her plan. She goes in the house. She's got all these plans. And look at how all of this is vegetables, because this is what they have access to, right? They don't have a lot of money. So she's going to make snap beans with rind. She's going to make yellow squash. She's going to make corn, and she's going to make green onions and butter and maybe even a bread. So these are the things that she's going to make for their special dinner. And she goes in and she discovers that Paul D is taking a bath. So they have like a big sort of wash basin in the middle of the living room where you take a bath, and he's sitting in there taking a bath, and he gets up soaking wet from the tub and hugs her. And so she lets him, and now her dress is full of water because the girls are not in the house yet. They're coming up behind her, and he asks what she's going to cook, and she tells him all the things she's going to make. And then Beloved comes in, and they didn't hear her because, of course, she's so quiet. And Beloved doesn't like what she sees. When she sees them, she feels like crying. She is angry. She starts thinking about the fact that, Beloved spends time with Paul behind closed doors because they sleep in a separate room. Now here they are hugging. They're whispering to each other. She is angry, and so she turns around and leaves. She doesn't want to stay in that room. I made a note, Beloved is dangerous. I mean, these powerful feelings that Beloved has are for sure dangerous. So she leaves. Denver had not yet arrived, or else she was waiting somewhere outside. Beloved went to look, pausing to watch a cardinal hop from limb to branch. She followed the blood spot, shifting in the leaves until she lost it, and even then she walked on backwards, still hungry for another glimpse. She turned finally and ran through the woods to the stream. Standing close to its edge, she watched her reflection there. When Denver's face joined hers, they stared at each other in the water. So Beloved is so upset when she sees Paul D and Sethe hugging that she goes back to the stream. And Denver follows her. And Denver confronts her. She says, "You did it. I saw you." And Beloved acts like she doesn't know what she's talking about. And Denver says, "I saw your face. You made her choke." And Beloved's like, "I didn't do it." And Denver says, "You told me you loved her. And she says, "I fixed it, didn't I? Didn't I fix her neck?" So this is basically, in my opinion, Beloved admitting that she choked her because she had tried to make up for it. She had done something wrong, and then she tried to make it better. So I just wrote, yep, because clearly she did do it. "I kissed her neck. I didn't choke it. The circle of iron choked it." So this is slavery choked it. The rememory of all the things that happened to the slaves is what choked her. But I don't believe her, do you? I think it was Beloved. "I saw you." Denver grabbed her arm. "Look out, girl." I mean, this, honest to God, you got to be careful about Beloved. She snatched her arm away, ran ahead as fast as she could along the stream that sang on the other side of the woods. Left alone, Denver wondered if indeed she had been wrong. Nah, I don't think so. I think Denver is right. Denver is very perceptive. Denver knew that the clearing used to be where Baby Suggs preached, but that was when she was a baby. She had never been there herself to remember it. 124 in the field behind it were all the world she knew or wanted. So she's like trying to reason with herself. Like, could it have been Baby Suggs? Maybe it wasn't Beloved, but I think we know it's Beloved. Now we're going to have another flashback of Denver's. Once upon a time, Denver had known more and wanted to. So we're going to learn about that on the next page. When Denver was a younger girl, she had walked the path leading to a real other house. She had stood outside the window listening. 4 times she had done this. She had walked off looking for the house other children visited, but not her. When she found it, she was too timid to go to the front door, so she peeped in the window. Lady Jones. Okay, so we've had this name before. We didn't know who Lady Jones was. Now we're going to find out who Lady Jones is. Lady Jones is a teacher. Lady Jones was saying something too soft for Denver to hear, but there are children sitting on the floor in front of her. Lady Jones has a book. The children have little chalkboard slates with chalk, and so she's teaching them. 4 times Denver went to look. The 5th time, Lady Jones caught her and said, "Come in the front door, Miss Denver. This is not a sideshow." So she had almost a whole year of the company of her peers along with them, and she learned to spell and count. She was 7 years old. So I think this is an important point. You should know at 7 years old, she was able to go to this little school. For a nickel a month, Lady Jones did what white people thought unnecessary, if not illegal. She crowded her little white parlor with the colored children who had time for and interest in book learning. So Lady Jones is a white lady who's teaching the colored children how to read and how to count. And this is a wonderful thing. And so the nickel tied to a handkerchief that she carried to Lady Jones thrilled her. Denver loves learning. She loves being with her peers. She was so happy she didn't even know that she was being avoided by her classmates, that they made excuses and altered their pace not to walk with her. It was Nelson Lord, the boy as smart as she was. So Denver's smart, which I would say Denver is smart, right? I mean, I'm just making all kinds of comments about the fact that Denver is so perceptive and is able to figure out who Beloved is. Denver is also book smart. Nelson Lord put a stop to it. Nelson Lord asked her the question about her mother that put chalk, the little eye, and all the rest that those afternoons held out of reach forever. We don't find out yet what it was he asked her, but we could probably imagine a few things that the children might know that maybe Denver doesn't know. She should have laughed when he said it or pushed him down, but there was no meanness in his face or his voice, just curiosity. But the thing that leapt up in her when he asked, it was a thing that had been lying there all along. So we don't know yet. Just put a question mark. You don't have to know right now. She never went back. So she was maybe not so much humiliated, but it brought up a feeling in her she couldn't handle. The second day that she didn't go, Sethe asked her why, and Denver didn't answer. She was too scared because certain odd and terrifying things about her mother were collecting around the thing that leapt up inside of her. So, remember, Sethe is a murderer. Sethe went to jail. These are some of the things that might be leaping up inside of her. After Baby Suggs died, she did not wonder why Howard and Bugler had run away. She did not agree with Sethe that they left because of the ghost. If so, what took them so long? They had lived with it as long as she had. But if Nelson Lord was right, no wonder they were sulky, staying away from home as much as they could. So she's thinking that there's something else that is bad about their life, about her mother, not just the ghost that's making people avoid them. Meanwhile, the monstrous and unmanageable dreams about Sethe found release in the concentration Denver began to fix on the baby ghost. So the baby ghost, it's her only company now, for sure, and she's highly curious about it. Before Nelson Lord, she had been barely interested in the ghost. The patience of her mother and grandmother in its presence made her indifferent to it. Then it began to irritate her, wear her out with its mischief. That was when she walked off to follow the children to Lady Jones's house school. Now it held for her all the anger, love, and fear she didn't know what to do with. So those powerful feelings that come from the ghost, Denver can relate to them. Even when she did muster the courage to ask Nelson Lord's question, she could not hear Sethe's answer, nor Baby Suggs's words, nor anything at all thereafter. Okay, so this is not an exaggeration. Literally, she did finally ask Sethe for the answer to Nelson Lord's question. And what she is told is so emotionally traumatic that she loses her ability to hear for 2 years. So that's an important detail. For 2 years, she heard nothing at all. And then she heard close to thunder crawling up the stairs. So all of a sudden, when she does start to hear again, it's a terrible loud noise in the house. Sethe thought it was the India rubber ball the boys played with. Maybe it was the dog, but no, it's the baby ghost. So Denver says, didn't you hear her crawling? Like Denver makes the connection that it's the baby ghost. What to jump on first was the problem, that Denver heard anything at all, or that the crawling already baby girl was still at it, but more so. So the ghost is getting more and more just disruptive and angry. And the fact that all of a sudden Denver can hear again. The return of Denver's hearing, cut off by an answer she could not bear to hear, cut on by the sound of her dead sister trying to climb the stairs, signaled another shift in the fortunes of the people of 124. So remember, this is all back, when this is like 10 years ago or something. From then on, the presence was full of spite. So from this point on, that ghost is angry. This is when Baby Suggs starts to grow tired. There's just like, they can't handle living with this ghost. In the afternoon of the last day of Baby Suggs's life, she got out of bed, skipped slowly to the door of the keeping room, and announced to Sethe and Denver the lesson she had learned from her 60 years a slave and her 10 years free. So she's 70 years old, that there was no bad luck in the world but white people. They don't know when to stop, she said. That could be on a quote test. And then Baby Suggs died that very day. So these are the last words that she said, that there was no bad luck in the world but white people. They don't know when to stop. Afterwards, Sethe and Denver tried to call up and reason with the baby ghost, but got nowhere. They blame, I'm sure, the baby ghost for Baby Suggs dying because it's just so much stress. And then in comes Paul D, who gets rid of the ghost, but Denver preferred the venomous baby to Paul D any day. So neither Beloved nor Denver liked Paul D. And of course, now Sethe has decided that he's going to stay. And this refers to the fact that after Paul D came, Denver spent a lot of time just out in the clearing in her little fort surrounded by those beautiful bushes. And then when she saw the black dress with the unlaced shoes beneath it, she trembled with secret thanks. She's like, okay, someone's coming back to keep me company. Whatever her power and however she used it, Beloved was hers. This is what Denver believes, that Beloved came for her. Denver was alarmed by the harm she thought Beloved planned for Sethe. Fair enough, she should be, but felt helpless to thwart it. So unrestricted was her need to love another. So she's so desperate to take care of Beloved, she doesn't even care enough to be concerned about how Beloved could be dangerous, for sure. Okay, now we're back in the present again. Walking toward the stream beyond her green bush house, Denver let herself wonder, what if Beloved really decided to choke her mother? Would she let it happen? Murder, Nelson Lord had said. Here's the question. Didn't your mother get locked away for murder? Wasn't you in there with her when she went? So, there's the question Nelson Lord asked. And that's what caused Denver to lose her hearing for 2 years. It was the second question that made it impossible for so long to ask Sethe about the first. She can't believe that as a baby she was in prison, and she was. That's what happened. Denver went to prison with her mother because her mother had to take care of her. The thing that leapt up had been coiled in just such a place, a darkness, a stone, and some other thing that moved by itself. Maybe she has like some trauma and memories from this, even though she was so small. She went deaf rather than hear the answer, and like the little 4 o'clocks that searched openly for sunlight and then closed themselves, that's a kind of flower, tightly when it left, Denver kept watch for the baby and withdrew from everything else until Paul D. came. But the damage he did came undone with the miraculous resurrection of Beloved. So this resurrection, I think, confirms again that she is the ghost. Okay, so she sees Beloved standing by the water. And remember, they've just had this confrontation a minute ago. And she walks up there, and she's been crying. And she wants there to be a reconciliation. Denver takes off her shoes and steps into the water with Beloved. So again, the water is a place of rebirth, cleansing. That's symbolic, maybe that there'll be some healing as they stand in the water together. It took a moment for her to drag her eyes from the spectacle of Beloved's head to see what she was staring at. And what is being described here are 2 turtles along the banks of the stream who are mating. And Beloved is absolutely mesmerized by this sight. And that in itself is foreshadowing something. Just keep that in mind. Beloved dropped the folds of her skirt. It spread around her. The hem darkened in the water, which is very ominous. So this is leaving us hanging for sure.